Question 3. Let f be a transformation from R2 to R2, and it is described as you can see there. Question 3a. Sketch some curves x minus y equals to constant and x times y equals to constant in the xy plane. Which region in the xy plane corresponds to the rectangle in the uv plane given by u going from 0 to 1 and v going from 1 to 4? So in other words, so let's say this is 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 4 and 1. So something like this. So that's 1, 1, and that's 1, 4. So this is a rectangle. And the question is asking what region here, when I apply f to that region, I get this rectangle. And that's what we need to do. Okay. So first things first, let's get some of this out. X minus y equals to constant, x times y equals to a constant. So x minus y we know is just u, and x times y is just v. So u is just equal to x minus y, and v is just equal to x times y. So let's say we want constant function u equals to 0 and constant function u equals to 1. So u equals to 0 is the same thing as saying x minus y, and that's the same thing as saying y is equal to x. Constant function u equals to 1 is the same thing as saying x minus y. 1 is equal to x minus y, and you rearrange, and you get x minus 1. Function v equals to xy. We want v to go from 1 to 4, right? So let's say constant function 1, and that corresponds to y equals to 1 over x, and 4. That corresponds to this, y equals to 4 over x. Okay. So u equals to 0 is y equals to x. So if we have this straight line that goes through the origin, so that's y equals to x, that straight line corresponds to u equals to 0. So that straight line I just drew corresponds to u equals to 0, which is the v-axis. The other thing I want to draw is u equals to 1, which is the same thing as saying y equals to x minus 1. So something like that. And that one's y equals to x minus 1. So that second line I just drew corresponds to this blue line there, that which is u equals to 1. Then I want v equals to 1, and that corresponds to y equals to 1 over x. So that's going to look something like, for the sake of proportionality, I'm going to pretend the line's closer. It'll make more sense for the sake of proportionality. Because if that's 1, then that's 1. And I want y equals to 1 over x. So x equals 1, y equals 1 would be a point. And likewise, I would need to point there. So it'll look something like this. So this will be y equals to 1 over x. this would be as well. So those two lines that you see there, that's what corresponds to v equals to 1. So v equals to 1, that's this line. That's that line. Okay. Lastly, I want v equals to 4. That corresponds to y equals to 4 over x. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Same idea. It's way out here. That's y equals to 4 over x. And this is the same idea. Down here, something like that. And that's y equals to 4 over x. And that will correspond to v equals to 4. So that's going to correspond to this line up there. And that's v equals to 4. So the question 3a was asking what region in the xy plane corresponds to the rectangle that we see in the uv plane. Specifically, it is this region down here and this region up here. Together, that corresponds to this region here under the function or under the transformation f. So as it go from here to there. So more specifically, if you want to get all algebraic, it would be like this. So it's the intersection of the diagonal strip x minus 1 is less than or equal to y less than or equal to x with 1 over x less than or equal to y less than or equal to 4 over x. So this, in the xy plane, this yields, in the uv plane, it yields the rectangle, and that rectangle that we want is u goes from 0 to 1, and v goes from 1 to 4. So this is how you would describe it algebraically. This yields that, and pictorially it's this image that we see up here. And that's it for question 3a. For question 3b, we now want to compute the derivative, the total derivative. So the total derivative at xy, that's going to be, first component function is u. So u with respects to x and u with respects to y. Then it's the second component function, v with respects to x and v with respects to y. And u was just, what was u? U was x minus y. And with respects to y will be minus 1. And v was x times y. And that's it for question 3b.